Good morning. I am Michelle Jackson from the Marabella Open Bible Church. And this morning, I just want to take a little time to share with you a brief thought that God sees us. God sees each and every one of us. Sometimes we believe that we are invisible. Sometimes we think that we are insignificant. Sometimes we believe that nobody sees us, that nobody understands us, that nobody knows what's going on in our lives. But I want to encourage you this morning that the God who sits in the heaven, He sees us. He knows our name. He knows what we're about. He knows our potential. He knows our gifting. He knows everything about us. And the Word of God in Matthew chapter 10 says, Matthew chapter 10 and verse 29 says, "Are not two sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside your Father's care. And even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So do not be afraid. You are worth much more than any sparrow." And the God we serve values us. The God we serve sees us at the point of our needs. I'm reminded of David in the Old Testament. God had sent Samuel to anoint the next king of Israel. And Samuel had invited Jesse to bring his sons. And Jesse brought 7 of his sons. And each of those sons were paraded in front of Samuel for him to make the choice of the next king. But the Spirit of God said to Samuel, none of these guys are the guys that I'm looking for. And then he says to Jesse, do you have another son? And he says, well, yeah, there's a little one. He's tending the sheep. And it's interesting that David was probably not even significant enough in his own household to be invited to such an important occasion. He was forgotten. He was the youngest son who was always somewhere in the desert tending sheep. Not thought at all that he can become the next king of Israel. And sometimes even the people who are very close to us may be unable to see us and to see our potential, but God knows and God sees. And God is able to find us wherever we find ourselves. I'm also reminded of Gideon. Gideon was threshing in a wine press, hiding from the Midianites. And in that situation of being afraid and hiding under a bushel, so to speak, God was able to find him and speak to him. Gideon himself thought that he was insignificant. And oftentimes our own voices say to us that we are insignificant. Our own head says, you are not important enough. He says, my family, we are poor. And I am the least in my family's household. Therefore, I am not significant. But God had other ideas. And this morning, I just want to encourage us that God has other ideas for our lives. He sees us. The Word of God says that the very hairs on our head, they are numbered. So God knows exactly how many hairs we have on our head and where to find each hair. The God who knows us to that very minute detail is a God who is interested in everything about us. So today, let us look up. Let us look to this God because He's interested in our lives and He wants to do something miraculous with it. I'm reminded in closing of a song from long ago that says, in heaven's eyes, there are no losers. In heaven's eyes, there are no hopeless cause. Only people like you with feelings like me, and we're amazed by the grace that we can find in heaven's eyes.